We are the Iron Disciples. In this podcast, we talk about bodybuilding, dating, finances, with the goal of being a better man, son, brother, husband, and father, with the focus on building strong families. Exploring these topics from a biblical standpoint, how to do these things as Christian men. Hello. How you doing? Good.
Welcome back,
Mike?
everyone. Doing wonderful.
Wonderful. He's wonderful. Red pill number 2.
Dude, yeah. It's going to be a crazy day.
This is podcast number 17.
Yeah.
Wow.
Making some progress.
That's a cool number. I feel like when I was 17. Anyway, before I get into that crap, let's pray.
She's only 17. That kind of rolls into red pill.
Kip Winger, thank you for that pedophilia song.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Father, for bringing us together. Thank you. We're humbly before you today. You are so magnificent, so awesome, Father. Thank you for your creation, for the food we eat, for the mothers and the fathers, for the kids in the home, all these gifts that we've grown accustomed to, Lord. Put into our hearts that realization of how fantastic you are, and how lucky we are. Today, Lord, guide our speech, guide our conversation. Let us glorify you with our words and our thoughts, and put you in the central place in our hearts and minds. We pray that this conversation will edify those out there, our brothers and sisters, and we pray glory to you forever and ever. In your awesome name, Father. Amen.
Amen.
That kind of reminded me of that one chick you asked at the gym. You were like, shot your shot, and you're like, she's like 16.
Oh, no.
Well, we'll start it off with that story, huh?
It's pretty wild. Them youngins looking like full blossomed.
Yeah, that was
Right?
that was a
Females.
little bit embarrassing.
It's not your fault.
What are you supposed to do? Hey, how old are you?
I know.
It's
We
like
all know
that's the
girls
thing,
develop
this-
faster than males.
Plus, they can always lie. They can
Yeah.
always be like, I'm 20. They're not. So what do you do?
I don't think that's
Can
the
I see your ID?
Yeah.
Let's check
Well,
out.
that- that's
they probably
a
have a
fake
fake
ID.
ID. Yeah. No.
Like I can't trust my eyes anymore after that, because girls that I think are like that she's older than are older than her, and I was just because I was looking like I wouldn't say, I don't know if you guys would say that you see high schoolers at the gym like actually working out by themselves on like a routine like we have, and I'm
Yeah.
like, no.
No.
like
You just see them
hardcore.
fooling around like
Yeah.
with a
their
group of
friends.
friends, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Like this girl had literally a routine like we do, and I was like, I would
She
assume
must
she's
be
an
the
Big
adult.
clue. So you're like, that's a clue. She's mature.
Yeah.
She's probably 25.
Yeah, I would if you just said 22 to
16.
25. Yeah,
John's
16.
good at this. This one girl, I dropped my earbud underneath her, and she's just like looking at me like a deer in the headlights. I was like, yeah, my earbud's like under there. And then she reached for her earbud, and I was like, no, it's like you have both yours in. Like, it's mine. And John was like, oh, he thought I was like hitting on her or something. I was like, no, dude, I just lost my earbud. And he's like, she's really young. And I was like,
No, I was
how
like, did
young
you
do
talk to her? And he's like, yeah, I told me what was going on. So I was like, yeah, she's like probably 16 or 17 years old.
And I was like, okay. So I went back, and I was like, how old are you? And she's like, I'm 17. And I was like, oh, John.
And I'll tell you how
nailed
I
it.
know this kind of stuff. And it doesn't always work. Does
She
not
did look
always
young.
work.
She
okay?
did look young.
But you can tell, for me, when you see it's sort of like a childness to them in the way that they move and everything. When a girl's like 25 or 26, they have more of a focus. They're not like always looking around. They're not as shifty. When they're really young, it seems like they're always looking around, and they're kind of like, I don't know, they're young.
The chicken head?
They're a little chicken head. So usually you can see that. You
Yeah.
know. That's kind of the way I
Fair
see
enough. That's why Mike thought that
Yeah,
chick was probably older, because she was.
I'm
It.
still-
Right, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was embarrassing.
It's
all
happens.
good.
It's part of the process.
Yeah,
man.
you know,
What are
you're gonna have that gun shy every time.
I
Go
know
up to,
that's
like, a
exactly
grandma.
what's happened now. I'm like,
No, it should just be a lesson. It should be a lesson. You're gonna run into that
How is it a lesson?
because you're never gonna know their age. They could say 20, they could be 25. Sometimes when they're 30, they're gonna say they're younger.
Oh,
Other
that
times
happens
when
a
they're
lot.
Yeah, other times when they're younger, they're gonna say they're older.
Dude, on Tinder, like, I mean, or on some of these apps, I'm like, this lady's like 50 years old.
Some women. I remember
And she's
when
like
I was
28. I'm like,
when I was younger,
Really?
I would ask people's age
don't
because
mind.
it was just, I guess I'd be interested, and I'd get these dirty looks of like, you just offended my spirit. I'm like, okay, sorry, lady. I guess you're way older. You just let me on that you're probably 80 years old. Fine.
age is just a number, right?
It's weird. Women
Some
are
of these
really
people-
kind of, they're not about being honest. When they get past that 40 mark, maybe even 30, they're like 25,
Yeah.
27 for life. It's like, what's that thing in the mall?
29.
22. What's that? It's like
Forever 21.
There you go.
Oh.
Forever 21 right there. That says volumes. That's what's going on, dude. Anyway, so we're talking about red pill today. Do any of you guys care to give? We're just going to try and take this term and describe it real quick so that we can get into some conversation. Who wants to take it? One of you guys.
You're Joe. You just finished the book.
Rational Male.
Why don't you? It's a hard thing to define, really. It's like the definition's kind of in that book. Do you got a week?
Yeah. First of all, Mike, thank you. That book is awesome, and it goes over a lot of new terminology, which we think we kind of went over the first podcast. You guys want to check it out. A lot of the stuff we're saying is derived from that, so it's not like our personal opinion. I'm going to make mistakes today, so you can put me on the cross if you want. It's just the way it goes. I'm ready for it. So The Rational Male, written by Raul Tomasi. That is not his real name. It was taken from a movie that he really likes, and it's cool. It's not his name.
It's called a pseudonym, right?
Yeah, because he wants to protect his life, his personal life. But basically, he goes through, first of all, the gender dynamics in the come on, Mike, help me out.
Feminine imperative.
The feminine imperative, which he thinks, this is a condensed version from 1964, female contraceptive occurred. Women get control over whether or not they have babies or not. And then you have the whole feminized movement going on, or feminist movement going on. And then
to be fair, that was going on in the 1900s. That's been going on since the late 1800s.
And then it kind of, got some gasoline dumped on it and really exploded in
so
the 70s.
LSD, marijuana.
Probably had something to do with it. I don't know.
Go ahead.
Possibility there. Probably had some crazy sex with that stuff. Anyways, so the Rational Male goes through some of these historical events in which he believes has strongly influenced the gender dynamics and how they have changed in the last 40 years. The way a man...
60 years?
60 years. My bad. How men approach women and women approach men, and how we were kind of geared and historically how men, blue pill, which is chivalrous, or this type of just really respecting women for being
it's the
female.
Disney fairy tale.
Say more about that, Mike.
Well, it's the blue pill, red pill comes from the Matrix, and the blue pill version of like relationships is kind of the Disney fairy tale that everyone wants to try to mimic.
Right.
And that taking the red pill is kind of realizing, okay, we're human beings. Here's our base carnal things that are affecting our choices. Men and women they're not equal in how they think on those things. And here's why why we think the certain ways we do. Women are the child bearers. There's a lot, through all the years of most of human history being like just survival, like that ingrained a lot of things in their head on how they select.
Right, and he talks about the war bride specific in the book, which talks about women having their husbands taken their lives in battle. They all die, and then they have to find compassion for their captors, and they're able to kind of do this. And that influences another terminology is hypergamy, which is in women tend to go for...
They date up.
Right.
Preferably.
Okay. So red pill is saying, here's where we are now.
It's reality.
Here's
It's
the reality that
check.
we are now. So like you're getting taught what you to expect in this dating world. You're being taught that by, like you said, a Disney movie, whatever stories, what your mom and dad said it should be like, and what the idealism that's there. And then it's like, well, no, this is exactly where it's at. Here's all the grossness that's involved with it. Here's we are not trying to mince words here. So women do not like this book at all.
Actually, he says he gets more pushback from men on the book.
I believe that. Well, that's another terminology. His chump, something beta, or frustrated
chump or something.
Some chump.
We call that denial, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Not a river, but it is true.
Denial.
It runs deep. Yep. And there's a lot of guys that don't want to hear this. So,
it's a largely Western phenomenon, correct? Or is this like going on in the whole world?
Well, Western society, so, ranges from Australia to here. It's
Right.
definitely
UK,
the
European.
bigger cities, I guess, in the Asian countries are starting to see that influence, but not near as much.
Like Japan.
Like
probably.
Eastern Europe and Russia, this is way different.
Yeah.
It's not like that
Or
here.
the blue pill going on.
Yeah.
Patriarchy, dominating women, keeping them enslaved.
Yeah, that's what they would think.
Right. So that is what they think, right? So they're keeping. So that's something that it interests me. When I looked at this feminist revolution, this woman coming into her own, finally, this foot of the man coming off of them, and they get to be themselves. I always thought, like, there's, especially when I heard Jordan Peterson talk about it, because he talks about a few of the countries that tried to have equality of outcome for like job positions and stuff, and Scandinavia, or not Scandinavia, Scandinavia, yeah. And so like they made it so that the women had to have the same job opportunity. They're actually forced into jobs, and they ended up being really unhappy. And then they took it, they repealed some of this stuff, and they kind of went their natural way, and they went to these jobs. So like I was thinking about this. It's like Joe had said in some of the past ones, they had to taste test, see what the men were actually doing, and be like, well, that's not necessarily for us.
You want to work on an oil rig and chop wood?
Do you want to do that kind of stuff? Do you want to actually be a warrior? There's some, like, especially after watching Vikings, the Shield Maidens, I'm like, those ladies are pretty badass.
Lagertha.
Lagertha. Oh, my God.
Woman, man.
But I did think that was interesting, because, I mean, like, where is this going? How is this evolving? You know, where is the red pill taking us next? You know, it's crazy. I think about places like Japan, where
they're not having babies.
They're not having babies. Relationship, the man and woman relationship, has changed drastically. It's more foreign than anything. I watched several small things. I don't know much about it, but they like hanging out together and like having weird, novel hangout sessions together. But as far as long-term commitment and things, they're not about that at all. And again, it causes them not to have long-term commitment. So I'm wondering, where does red pill go from here?
The thing is, red pill isn't going anywhere. It's
true.
It's more so the society's going somewhere, and the red pill ideas are kind of just saying why this is happening and maybe how to combat it in your own life and what to expect.
Because it seems like women are trying on men's trousers. They're
Yeah.
like, does this feel good?
Well, that's
Do
the whole
I
feminist
like this?
movement. That's what's going on. Women want to be permissive. They want to be like, do what they want to do. They want to be like, I want to stay at home and be a wife and do this, and I can have multiple boyfriends, and I can have a career, and I can.
There's
do
always
whatever I
been
wanna
Cleopatras, you know, and like women like that. Always.
Hey, I believe
But it's-
women's been running the world since day one, man. They always been influencing the kings and
They're a part of.
back when the king
I don't
goes
know
out.
about patriarchy or any of that stuff, because I always see, I am that guy. I'll say one thing and then I'll immediately start to dismantle it. That's what annoys my wife so much. She calls me the dismantler. I'll be like, I play my own devil's advocate. So I'm like, patriarchy, that makes it, but no, there's always this woman, you know.
Yeah, dude, the king
I'm like,
goes to the bed
but it doesn't
chambers.
really make any
He like blows a
sense.
nut, and then he's like all like talking to this lady, and she's like, you should do this tomorrow. And he's like, he has all this
dude,
like
gets influenced.
what's that name of that drug that occurs after you have an orgasm?
Prolactin.
No, it's the other one. This prolactin is like a Q. Oxytocin.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. Anyways, it makes you fall in love and feel good and want to give up your innermost desires to some succubus that's going to tell you what to do with your
Or
life.
a very good wife. That's going to give you good
Either way,
information.
I'm just saying, I think women have had that influence for a long time.
Yeah. So that's why when I look at the patriarchy or anything like that, I'm like, okay, people need to look to one singular thing to make decisions. There's always going to be a figurehead there. It doesn't mean they're more important for any means. Like when you look at the president, right? He has the cabinet, he has the Senate, he has all these different functions and organs underneath him that help him to make decisions, right? And so I feel like the women, they have that misconception. They've been given this thing like men have been subjugating you as a sex for a long time. And so that's why I do like those Scandinavian projects where they like forced women into something. They actually had 10, 20 years of this, and you get some really cool data where you see them kind of coming back and like, well, no, we actually like to be nurses. We like to be teachers. We like these maternal roles. We enjoy them. We feel more fulfilled as we do these roles. There's going to be those outliers that like to be, law, whatever, like attorneys and doctors and these like very, very specific, powerful women, right? But the majority, generally, they like what they like. And so I found that fascinating. And that's why when I look at red pill, like, where is this going? I think that there is going to be that
It's going to keep
renaissance.
degenerating.
Well, I think there's going to be a renaissance. I'm a little more hopeful. I think the renaissance is going to happen after. I see this happening too. We talked about denial, like denial for the beta simps guys who like read that book and they're like, oh God, this is hitting so close to home and I gotta lash out here and I'm gonna show my alphaness to somebody who's actually trying to help me. It's so backwards. It's like he's actually trying to help you. Why are you attacking him? But it's denial. So like when I look at the women, they have that same denial when they look at the women in their lives who started families early on. They're like, oh, I feel so bad for Brittany. She's so like tethered down by kids and she has this like family and
I know I
I'm
see
like,
that all the time.
You look pissed about that. Like, why are you pissed?
That's the same way
You're
girls
pissed.
are like,
You're
oh,
pissed.
he's this or that, or like, oh, he's like, and the guys do the same thing too. They'll be like, oh, she's a hoe, or like because
They make fun
Rollo,
of the stuff they envy.
Hold on. Rollo calls these buffers, and he'll say in the book, and he'll say like, oh, you like for instance, like you see a girl that's attractive, but then you're like afraid of going up to her or whatever, and you just see her in some clothing that's revealing, and then you say, oh, she's slutty or whatever, and then you just don't even bother with her. Call them buffers. Women do that same thing with guys too. Like when they get rejected after they love some guy and they're like head over heel. Oh, he's so arrogant.
I would say
and
even
prideful,
before that though, like even
whatever.
before they like men do this with guys they respect too. Like we were in the gym today. I had this crazy situation I had to kind of lay to rest with some of these people. You don't need to know the details, but some guy was making fun of Joe and I because we do the box squats together. And he's like, oh, you guys are holding each other up. They're probably, having butt sex or something like that. Just trying to make fun of us because he thinks we're cool. And actually, we do know him after the fact that he was making these jokes before he knew us, and he actually likes who we are. Same thing is that way for women. When they envy or like something, they tend to pull it down because it's something they can't have. So it's like Brittany talking about, her friend Christy who has a family. It's like clearly she can't have that, so she needs to protect herself by saying she's an idiot.
Yeah, well, that's the unfortunate thing that women kind of tear each other down on that front way more than men ever do. Because it's like if you have a young girl who her mission is to be a mother and have a family, like she gets looked down upon.
True.
Like I've seen that in my own couple of my own friends they married younger girls, and they like people sometimes will view those girls as like their mom at like 20, 21 or whatever. Like, what are they doing?
Where their life went.
Yeah. Like now they're strapped down, and it's
what's weird on that too? Do you remember when we were in elementary school and like you guys, we all had like those first little flirting situations that happened?
The kissy girls?
Yeah, like kissy
Cooties.
girls and stuff. Cooties, dude, big one. But I remember some of the girls that liked me, I didn't understand that, and I'd come home and talk to my mom and be like, this one girl keeps kicking me and shit. She likes you. Exactly. And I was like, Mom, that doesn't make any sense. If she liked me, she'd be like, this other girl, Danielle, who's sending me notes and smiles at me. She's like, not all girls are like that. Some girls, they want to kick you and they're getting your attention a different way. I'm like, Mom, that makes no sense.
Your mom kind of sounds from the Middle East.
She sometimes, does she? I'm trying to do a Spanish accent. Sorry, Mom. She's
love her.
Spanish. She's Colombian. And sometimes she'll sit there and get really serious. You know what I mean? Like when she's giving you advice and you feel like the air in the room get heavy and the atmosphere is like thick and you're like, okay, Mom's about to drop some wisdom bombs. And that was what it was. And I remember with that particular girl, she did like me and it blew my little kid brain. I was like, this is crazy.
Dude, it's the same way like girls or guys will ignore the thing that they like because they're intimidated by it. So it's like they have to find some way to like either not pay attention to it or pay it some kind of diminishing attention so that they don't have to like be intimidated by it. Especially girls that are hypergamous. They want to bring guys that are higher than them to their level or below them, which is even better.
It's so sick.
Which is
that's
why
like domination.
Girls want to dominate, bro.
Relationships
so do guys.
shouldn't.
I mean,
Yeah,
everyone
they do.
wants to dominate. Let's
They
be real.
shouldn't,
But I mean, well, that's just the way God made it. Unfortunately, there's kings and there's dominance hierarchies. That's the way He did it. Ever since He put a dick and balls on a man and a vagina on another one, that is the dominance hierarchy we have all been living under since day one.
which is carnal. That is the
Doesn't matter.
Perverted.
It's just the truth.
It's perverted. It's Cain and Abel.
It's having babies, John. It's having babies.
The best relationships are where people aren't dominating each other. They're actually trying to edify one another.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. But there has to be that point of contention, sparring. But anyways, that's a bit of a digression from where
I
we're
wanted
coming
to
from.
connect some dots really quick, though. So, we're talking about denial and like how people will bash on the stuff that they actually think is cool. And like they may not even know it themselves. Like, why am I so outraged against
people
Britney?
don't have any
Right.
nuts.
They're not being honest, right? So I think that will give way in the red pill as it's the evolving nature of like the dating situation is the hate that's going out for long-term relationships in that fundamental way that we've done it for a long time, and the hurt that people are trying to make sense of as this runs its course. People are going to be like, yeah, we can't hate on that anymore because this is definitely not working out. Where Japan's looking at their population and they're like, we're seriously going to be screwed.
Okay.
You know, after all these old people are dead, what are we going to do? Right? So, I mean, that changes the narrative. And I was just pointing that out.
We all know it's attacking the families, but we're not talking about specifically that. We want to talk about dating, and that's the main point.
Go for it.
Because, you know, like marriages and babies is great if you can make that happen, and that's what your goal is. Finding someone,
That's where my head
someone
is.
that
My
you
bad.
like and want to have a baby with in a long-term relationship, finding that quality of person.
That's what you want to talk about.
That's pretty hard to do.
I got
okay,
it.
that's
Okay.
kind of what we talk
My
about
bad.
right now. All right,
Let's keep that direction. So
Right,
how
let's
does one
do
do
it?
that?
So
What's your experience been lately,
it's
Joe?
so yeah.
And how do you combine that with your new book?
It's helped me with women of all sorts. So mothers, sisters, it applies to that. You know, super helpful. How's dating been for me? I've been experimenting more. I've been going out and getting denied a lot, getting shot down, and
Right.
that's great. Getting used to being totally, just what do you call that? Like
Getting used
shut-
to just moving on.
No, it's a
Burn
D
down.
word. What? It's when someone
Declined.
declined. No, it's
Denied.
another one.
Rejected?
Denied. Rejection. That's
Yeah.
the one.
That's not a D word.
I know.
All right. I gave you two like good ones.
Those all, but yeah, getting cool with being rejected. It's a huge one.
Yeah.
You know, I went out to a club in LA and I had this younger guy with me named George. I was training with him. Super cool young man. I was like, listen, dude, come out with me. He didn't want to come out. He wanted to stay home. I was like, just do it. Come on.
No, poor
We're
little
gonna do
guy.
it. And he did.
Good.
He did. And we went out to the club and I was like, listen, this is what's going to happen, bro. I'm going to go out. I'm going to talk to girls. And I'm going to get denied and shot down like the majority of the time. And my friend Mikkel told me this. He was like, listen, if you want to go out, you're going to go see a bunch of girls. You look at them, you talk to them. 10 of them will say no to you. And
That's
then one
right.
of or two might say yes. And he's like, that's what it matters. And I was like, you don't have to bang these chicks, bro. You just get used to like going up and talking to them, you know? And that was what basically me talking to myself. I have like Mr. Miyagi, but like I'm just talking to myself, really. I'm not the Karate Kid either. So I go in there. This all happens, dude, and he's able to see it. I go on, I'm like dancing with this blonde chick, and then like I see her like talking to her friends, and I tap her on the shoulder, and she's just totally deer in the headlights. It doesn't know what to do, like just like ignores the fact that I'm sitting there now. And I look at him, and I just keep dancing with George, you know. And he's like, "Oh, that's cool. Like you don't have to sit there and fester in the moment. Like you could just keep plowing through, bro. You just keep motoring on, dude. This is one down, 10 to go. Like let's keep going. Get used to that. Rejection's okay, and you keep dancing through it. So that was really cool. I enjoyed being able to do that and not being like, oh, what? It's so internalized. After 12 years of not dating, it's a lot to kind of go through. There's a whole lot of unspoken things. Something Rollo talks about is like women are very indirect communicators. So they're all about like how things are being said, not what's being said. Men are all about what's being said, not how things are being
That's
said.
called tacit communication.
Right. Yeah.
It's overt and covert communication. I think it's how you terms it.
Overt, covert. Yeah.
Tacit describes body language, stuff that's being intended for you to understand without having vernacular words to support the statement.
Right.
So it's very interesting because people rely heavily upon that, especially when when you notice somebody who's saying the right or saying something and you sense some insincerity in them. It doesn't always mean that sometimes they're nervous, but
Yeah.
like it doesn't matter what they're saying. It shows you how heavily we weigh on that.
Yeah, it does.
Because if that doesn't match up,
That's why they always talk about vibe.
I
Like,
mean,
are
like-
you vibing? And like you get to be talking total dog stank ass.
Yeah,
And it doesn't matter. Like people are like, oh, it feels good. Like keep it up, the charisma. You know what I mean? So it's a powerful. It's a
that's
powerful
rap.
It's a powerful
in a
thing.
nutshell.
It's game. Yeah. It's So I had a girl come up to me and she's like, oh, I love your hair. And I saw her before and she was really hot. And I was like, oh. And she came up to me And she called me. I was like, oh yeah, you got nice hair too. And she's like, oh, they're extensions. I was like, they're still beautiful. And that's where I ended. I just walked away. So I have to get better at like talking, like having a conversation go past certain.
It's hard
places.
to do that in a club, but yeah.
Well,
it
yeah, because
takes
those
practice.
are openings. You know what I mean? You have to be able to talk. So I have to work on that, and having a little longer conversations, which are not normal to me, because I'm like, yeah, who are you? Where are you from? How's it? It's not club talk.
Plus club quality of girls, it's not where you're gonna find your girl anyway.
No, but it's a good place to practice.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good place to practice. Anyway, and you don't know. My friend Gloria was like, there are people that go to clubs that are good, and don't write them off. They exist in those places. You just have to know which ones. It's obviously not the drunk chick coming up to you with a glass and it's like, I think you're hot, baby. Come over here. That's not the one. Okay, there's maybe one over in the corner that's like hanging out. And you can
She just
tell.
got drug along with her friends.
Yeah.
Or she
For
got
instance.
drugged.
Hey, that's
All
where drugged. That's where Rolo met his wife. You could tell.
Yeah.
That was part of his story. He met her at one of his concerts, and her friends drug her ass to his show, and he was like, she's the one. And he followed
for
her
drugging her
and
for
stalked
me.
her all night long until
Thanks,
it was hers. But okay, back to tacit, or what was it? Covert over communication. Texting. Like some of these girls are just they speak emojinis. Like they don't actually like. I'm like, take a English class, like, because you're not speaking English. Like, and I don't know how to communicate this way. I speak English.
Emojinis,
Wow, that's
I
gotta
love
be
that.
tough. Well, yeah. I'm like, there's this whole world where like they've been watching series and like pop culture shows that I have no idea about. So they'll say stuff and I'll totally have no idea how to respond. I'll be like, I read Dostoevsky. Like, this shit is retarded. I'm sorry. Like, I do not know how to communicate with you.
So does it make sense to learn how to communicate with those kind of girls, or should you just move on?
Well, I think I move on, yeah. Because it doesn't go anywhere with me anyway. They're probably like, this guy sucks at communicating. And I'm like, she sucks at communicating, so it doesn't go anywhere. Right? It's both
Have
like
you
a dead
experienced
standstill.
just like the texting games on like
It's crazy, Mike.
people like
you know
will
about this.
purposely wait to respond and stuff. It's all kind of like a game.
Yeah, they're like, make sure like you can show them that you have a life outside of them. Don't text immediately.
Yeah, there's
'Cause
all
then
these
they'll
stupid
think
rules and
that
stuff.
you really like them. But if you really like them, then don't text immediately. Don't let them know you like
the
them.
dumb thing, especially with the dating apps, it's stuff's like true.
Dude,
it's
weird.
absolutely true.
But it's like, I like direct people. I like people that are like, I like you for this reason and that reason. It might not be as romantic and fun. I realize that. But I do like a certain directness within communication. And it feels like talking to girls is like they only like, they get turned on when they are the mystery. Like Rolo talks about that. It's the mystery. It's like they don't really know. They have to figure it out. They have to like take the text over the girlfriends. They have to all huddle around and be like, this is what he said. Do you know what he really means by this? And this is what he said. And they all kind of like scientifically dismantle like this text. And you're like, that's what they like to do. If you're too direct and it's too simple and it's too easy for them, they're just like, oh, it's boring.
So I was listening to a podcast. They were talking about how that the current generation is almost like crowdsourcing their dating. So they're doing that. They're taking a screenshot of text messages and running it by 20 people.
Yeah.
And that's just how this new world is working. And it's so weird.
I
Instead
can
of making
imagine
their
in the
own
old
calls.
days they just talk about it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I talked to Suzanne and she said this. What do you think, dad, uncle, friend? Like that probably happened
Mhm.
a lot. But I think that what you're talking about is you're starting to get a lay of the land. Like there's a majority of women out there that are, I don't know, glib. There's not much to them possibly for you guys, maybe for some other guys who are interested in that. But you're starting to know, because when you like somebody, like generally you like the way somebody looks, right? That person
opens the door.
right? Because what else are you going to draw
Physical
on?
attraction.
Right, you have that. That's what you generally have, unless you're like, I don't know, one of these crazy stories where you read someone's book and you know they're single and you like have an introduction to their mind somehow and you like know who they are. Like that's very rare.
Right.
Usually you look at somebody and you're like, that person is appealing to me, so let's see what's underneath. And generally, and I've seen this happen a ton of times, you don't get the real person for like 6 months, even a year.
Yeah.
Even with like really honest people, because it's
That's
hard to be
frightening.
honest. What I hear you guys saying is dating is all a facade.
Well,
when
it's
you
all short term too. Like I don't think a lot of people date anymore for like long term. They're just like, oh,
he's my type. I'll do him for like a month or two, and then I'll move on to the next one. And it's like more they want like a lifestyle that's fun for them. I'm a bodybuilder. I eat clean. I eat fish. I'm not going to go out and eat a bunch of crazy food at some restaurant every night or every weekend.
Go drinking all the
time. I'm very
time.
disciplined. I'm not going to go out drinking and partying all the time. Girls are like, screw that. I want to go enjoy
not only
and have
girls,
fun.
though. That's people.
It's the Madonna
general.
song.
You can't.
Girls just want to have fun.
Well,
dude.
it's not only girls. Men are like that.
And they do it for like
Like,
2. You're right.
Men are the
You're
same
right.
exact way.
You're
It's
right.
humanity.
But the girls can get away with like serial dating, and like most of the times it's the guys that just got a bunch of cash and whatever, and they go out and they live that lifestyle and they cycle through chicks, and the chicks are just part of that cycle, and they cycle through dudes. It's kind of different. They're just, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. So you're describing people who just are they're in for that honeymoon phase, and I see that happen. With a lot of young
perpetual
people.
honeymoon phase.
When you go into the long-term relationship, stuff gets a little boring. You actually have to like create a life with these people. You have to plan. It's like, you're not thinking about the restaurant you're going to eat at. You're not excited about how this person's making you feel anymore. You guys are actually planning for the future, and then that is an instinct that's not as naturally born as like, that person's beautiful, let me go hang out with them and possibly have a good time. So I see that a lot in the dating world, and I think that you guys are looking for diamonds in the rough. How do you guys get better at that?
Have you discovered,
or just diamonds? They don't have to be in the rough.
I don't think whatever. They don't exist.
So I find
They do.
I find it's just a weird, like, almost paradox. The more interested in a girl I am, the more like it just actually doesn't go anywhere.
But what's with that?
And then the girl that you're like,
I think I know what's
like
up with that.
So
she's like coming
annoying.
after you.
Yeah.
And it's like like a couple of the girls I've sent screenshots to you. I'm like, this girl I want to meet.
Yeah, I remember.
Never has that worked out. Can't even get a date with them. And I'm have you experienced that? I'm curious.
I've experienced it with a couple girls. Usually it's like I am hitting this weird vibe, like I'm learning how to like talk to chicks, not because I'll get too deep too quick. It's what I realized. So I need to like pull back, let things grow naturally instead of like being a freak.
Dude,
so
yeah.
I'm working on I'm working on that, which is like so good for me because I'm
Some
like,
girls
dude,
will
did you
gush
really
on
like
you,
that
dude.
girl enough? Like, dude, Joe, you're freaking me out. Not her. Like, I can understand why she's freaked out, but I'm even more freaked out by myself. Like, what the? Okay. So getting that together and like having like a proper progression to it's been better. And then also like when I know what I want, I need to be able to be like, I nail this chick. You know what I mean? And be able to do that. And that's something that I because you're talking about it. It's like. You don't want to go too hard into them, and then you're just like maybe not.
This is gonna sound super old school.
Go for it, John.
But
Bring it on.
I don't care. What I understood early on when I was dating was that sense of attraction, like with the dating apps, set you up for. They've already set the sort of theatrical stage, so they're like, "This is what you're expecting. Could be." Sparks, could not be, right? And when I started dating, I started in hard like Joe. I'd notice I'd gush because I'm a product of my mother and father, so very Latin. I'd share stuff and be like, whoa, that was definitely oversharing. That freaked me out. I was probably horrible. Now that person has information that's a stranger, and I don't think they should have that information.
About the Men in Black pen, bro.
Oh, dude, you wish you had it. It's like, let's clean that slate. But what I noticed was like taking away that stage, that prep, like that script, that whole thing, how do you get rid of it, was being friends.
Being authentic.
It sounds so old school, but it's true. It's like when I would see somebody that I liked, I would talk about stuff that I actually had interest in to see if they would queue up. And then we'd have conversation on that, and I would try my best not to let them on that if I did like them, I would stifle that feeling. I'd be like, you know what? I don't really like them. I like the way they look.
Double cross
that
your
means
nuts.
nothing. I would just say
See you
this.
later.
What matters to me most is being honest with myself. And if I like this person, you got this emotional tank that's like so full.
It's intimidating.
It's like you have to push that thing aside and just say.
It's like a throbbing, intimidating, just mass.
What it does is it takes away who you truly are.
It does.
And then they don't know who you truly
It's
are.
drugs, bro.
Because,
It's
you're all
drugs.
jacked up. So you have to be like, I don't know this person. I don't know that I actually like them. You be like brutally honest.
No
like I do
kidding,
like what
dude.
they look like. But can I be friends with them?
That's
like
starting
with
to
my
happen
wife,
to me more because like
with
I'm
my
like
wife,
I am kind
because
of
what'll happen is you'll be turned off by a bunch of beautiful girls. That happened to me. I'd be like, well, I don't really like these. These girls are beautiful, but they're not very interesting. On the 4th or 5th date,
even after the sex and whatever, you're just like, this
real
is...
quick. I'm going to footnote that.
Go ahead.
Okay, because Rollo talks about this, and it's a great red pill conversation piece. Really pretty girls get away with murder growing up. You know what I mean? It's like, here's this for free. Oh, you can have this. You can go here, just because they're beautiful.
100%,
And their
dude.
character gets diminished because of that. So they become less interesting in a lot of ways.
If they're dumb. If they're smart, they recognize that happening, and they take measures to keep that from happening. And that's how you know you have a smart, beautiful girl.
Good parents.
Not only good parents, you can have... It just takes being honest with their circumstances.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why isn't Sally getting these hands out? But I am. Okay, I know I'm beautiful. See, the issue is when you're growing up, your aunts and uncles are going to say, oh, you're so beautiful. You might look like a horse's ass. But they're going to say that regardless, because that's what family does. When you start
They
getting
lie to you.
compliments from strangers, wow, you're so beautiful. That's when the lights go on. It's like, yeah, I'm different than the rest of these people.
Yeah,
and they're
guys
either
just
going
giving
to-
them gifts for no reason. Like,
They're-
here you go.
right.
Here's a diamond bracelet.
So going
You're
back
gorgeous.
to what I went through,
Done
is
nothing for
I'd
this but
have
look
these
beautiful.
and it was like, okay, I can do this. I can sack a beautiful girl, but that's not the real game.
Hey, well, that's
The real-
important to get to that level, because then you can kind of...
It's not
you
important.
you know your worth, which is a big thing what Rollo talks about. A lot of guys, they don't know their value. So, like, if once you know you can, or you're attractive at a certain level, you kind of, like, realize, like...
I don't think you need a woman to do that for you. I think you can look in the mirror usually. and be
Nah,
able to
dude,
figure that
no.
out.
You need to have validation from women, bro. That's the way that happens. You can't look in the mirror and be
That's-
like, I am so sexy.
Look,
and
look,
I
look,
know
look.
what I
That's
am.
the point.
It's not
man.
gonna happen.
Is I think that your validation, because if you take that validation from those hot chicks and you're like, this is what I am, you start to weigh too heavily on your looks, and then you're just getting it crappy.
No,
sex.
you're going too far. I'm just saying
No.
it's important
Sure,
to
it's
turn
important.
off your attraction. What you're saying, when you tie your balls in a knot, you just want to be like friends with someone that is attractive, because you know you can attract hot chicks. So you're not like just trying to attract hot chicks. You're like, I can be friends with them, and I know that's going to happen eventually. You know what I mean?
Really, I guess you want to take that person that's attractive. If you find somebody who's really beautiful and they know it, and they're able to like appreciate their own character aside from that as a woman, you want to be able to show your true self to them, so that you can have, because they're used to being approached. They've probably been approached by a ton of gorgeous guys,
Oh, yeah.
a ton of gorgeous women probably. They are a high value human being. So you have to offer them something different. I mean, it has to be something like that they stick in their memory, something you say, something you do, something you're about. And that's where I'm like, that's what I learned, because I did have these beautiful girls, and then it was like, man, this really is sort of dry. I don't really enjoy this. This is like, I'm trying to like this person now. I don't really like them anymore. This person is not
That's
my
the drugs,
style
bro.
at all. But it takes being honest with yourself, saying, you know what? I don't like this person.
But that
I
takes
don't need
doing it. That takes getting rejected. That takes experience, and that's for a lot of the guys. And that's what Rollo talks about. He's like, you got to get out there and try. That's what I was telling my buddy George. Is like, you don't have to bang any of these chicks. You know, you just have to learn how to like approach, you know, and be yourself and do that, so that you can learn how to do what John's saying. Because John was single a whole lot longer than I ever was. That's why I look to Master John all the time. Like, John, what do you think about this?
The friend. So to touch on the friend idea first, because I completely agree. But my experience with that is, girls don't want that. They want to know that
This
you
is what I
are
wanted to
you are
touch on.
pursuing
Yeah,
them
you're going to bring that up.
as more than friends, like within 2-3 dates. Otherwise, they're out.
It's true.
So what I did, okay, is like, because they need to know what kind of a male they're dealing with. If you set the terms, and you know you're a high value male, like Rollo Tommaso says, and you're like, your beauty isn't going to be it for me. You have to prove to me you have something going on in your head and heart that is attractive to me. Then you set the stage. You're like, yeah, we're friends right now because you're beautiful, sure. But I've met a lot of beautiful girls. I've been with a lot of beautiful girls. That's not what I'm interested in. You might be a friend, but I'm not interested in just going out and plowing the fields. Then they start to have attraction to you, because they don't want a guy who wants to plow the fields. They want a guy who's actually what they want to bring
So I
home
think
to mom.
better than friends is a way
Well,
of
I'm trying to
saying-
define friends, because it starts with friends. Okay, but you're also letting him know that you are looking, and you're a man who's got that in your trajectory is to find a wife.
Well, it's not
But
like
you're
friends.
not-
It's just like it's separating from like,
I think you're hot or you're physically attractive. And for a guy with a bunch of testosterone, that's an extremely overwhelming hormonal, like, it's just, you have a tsunami coming. So you have to, like, say, chill tsunami for a minute, bro. I need to, like, get off these drugs and find out if I actually like this person for being who they are, like, besides their physical appearance.
Yeah, maybe you got.
I think that's what you're saying, because the friend thing can be kind of maybe confusing, because, like, friends are friends, you know what I mean? But when you're talking about an attraction with a woman, you're trying to deal with these nuts, and then you're also trying to deal with, like, an actual person.
So when a guy goes through the friend phase, like what we hear generally is that man's a simp. Okay, that's the friend that you don't want to be.
Now they're getting friend zoned by girls that don't really like them.
Different, man. I've been friends with girls that have been in love with me in the past, plenty of times. Actually, that's the norm. Is you're like just a guy hanging out. You try and help them a couple times, they fall in love with you. That happens all the time because you have good intentions, and they love good intentions.
Girls and boys.
If you're a guy that loves somebody and you're actually trying to do something good for them, they're attracted to that. It's earnest. It's sincere. It's something good. It's a sign of strength.
You're going blue pill because there's a lot of guys that do that, and they just get used and used and used and used and used and used.
Okay,
abused.
This is the issue. Is I'm not sitting there trying to get her to be my wife by being a friend. I'm being a friend by seeing where it goes.
I get it. We're done.
I'm not going to
pass
sit that.
I understand what you mean by that. And I think the listeners do too, as far as approaching them, trying to get rid of the sexuality,
we're trying
the drugs.
Because you got the friend zone, right? You have the simp, you have the beta male who's like not being honest with the fact that he actually wants her as a girlfriend. And if he rejected him as a girlfriend or rejected that, said, no, that's not going to happen, it's time to go. It's time to go do something else.
That's the point.
So that's where guys get locked up and they're like, oh, hope one day she just loves me. Like, no, stop, bro.
Rolo would say, the second that happens, you go out, leave.
So there's a friend you're getting the answer from her. Is she going to say yes or is she going to say no? What does the interest in you look like? Are you stifling her, saying, you know what, I'm not ready to go on a date with you because I don't even know who you are, right? Who are you?
Okay.
Right? We got it. What do you want to say, Joe? Sounds like you want to move on.
I do. I do. Because
go ahead, dude.
I think that's important, but it's also, I want to see what how's dating been for you, bro?
It's not hasn't been as terrible lately, I would say. As far as the frustrating side of the apps, they've had better luck there. But I would, the frustration I think we all deal with of like being more attracted to something that's not good versus like when the good things come along, it's like you don't have the attraction you'd want for that. I would say that's been more of the problem because I've met some really nice girls, but just the attraction and the connection hasn't been there. And like that's I think the common problem with Christians too. Because a friend of mine, she's been dating lately, and like literally the top like spiritually mature Christian man she wants, she has the least connection with, and then the one that has like doesn't have the spiritual maturity that she wants is the one she's most connected to.
What is up with that?
And it's just like it's this paradox we're all experiencing, and I don't really have an answer for it.
Oh man, that's so weird. Yeah, same.
Women like danger.
Risky.
Yeah. So, I mean, you don't want boring.
Yeah, it's too, like, no mystery.
Yeah. Well,
you got to have, like, this bit of, like, and it's something about, like, even the younger males, like, how they attract. It's because they're kind of, like, they're not aware of themselves. There's not, like, that conscientiousness. They're more just, like, whatever, I'm just going, right in for it. And there's some guys like that, and I've seen them, and they attract a lot of women. And you're like, how in the world does this guy, he's like a complete...
Attracts the wrong kind of woman. Again, it's like, what are you fishing for, man?
Well,
like,
I wouldn't say the wrong kind of women. I just say naive women, maybe. Dude. Women that aren't experienced, and even experienced women.
What a fish is attracted to, bait-wise, will tell you a lot about that kind of a
I
fish.
am also attracted to things I should not be attracted to. Like some women, I should not be attracted to you, but I definitely am, and that's not...
Just because it's true doesn't mean you act on it. So that's maturity, right? So you can be a person that's attracted to doing heroin and cocaine because it's great and it makes you feel great, but you know the end game. So you have maturity, you have intelligence, you have rationale, you try and be smart.
Yeah.
Those guys who carry all those...
Be smart. Remember we called that after, like in high school, you just like blow a load and then you'd be like, I'm finally smart again. Like,
yeah, your focus
I have my mind.
Gone.
I have received my intellect.
But I mean, I see that. It's like, so do you want to use his game? Do you want to get a bunch of these, foul fishes? Do you want that?
Foul fishes? Ugh.
Do you want that? Go to use his game.
It's hard, dude, because, like,
some of those foul fishes can be very attractive.
Great, go have fun with foul fishes. You're just beginning. That's the thing is like you're just beginning dating, dude. You've been out of this for a long time, so
Dude,
you're gonna have
yeah.
to evolve, run its course. You're gonna have to fail, do all this stuff until you realize what works out.
Yeah,
So
you're
you're
right.
attracted to these things. These things have been in the back of your head for decades. So yeah, in a way, you're fighting your inner behemoth
For
of
sure,
barbarian
dude. And I was,
man.
I
So.
just want to say, jacking off sucks. So it's hard to
So does being a warrior. You're going out and you're fighting something that wants to kill you.
But at least you get to
So that does suck.
at least you get to practice for warfare and then engage in warfare, and it's like something that you're
Not always.
you identify.
Not
in.
always, dude. Not always.
Well, all I'm saying is that as a man, it's hard to not have sex.
Duh.
Okay, that's
Okay.
what I'm trying to say, and it sucks. And it's not easy for someone who has for a long time, and I struggle with that.
Let's talk about how we survive
violin.
today's.
Little
like,
violin.
That's all I hear, dude. I mean, I don't care. Like men.
That's why we're talking about.
men
Because there's
who
other
are
guys
married.
out here that do care, John.
Uh,
Because you got a
they
girl
all-
and you're gonna get married,
and
so
it
you
comes
don't
with
care.
it
I
comes
totally
with its
understand.
own set of struggles. It's
course,
not like
bro.
you get this complete. It's everything amalgamates into perfection.
It's true.
Does not happen that way.
Drive you nuts.
Well, you be prepared to love somebody. That's something that Christ showed us was incredibly hard to do.
them ladies,
So
they
is
get
it
inside.
rewarding? Is it? Yes, it's rewarding.
Scramble your brains.
Hopefully, they're putting your brain and heart together.
They
So
do that,
That's
too.
what the hope is.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
I was
Mike.
gonna say, so the audience doesn't think we're like animals. Let's talk about how do you survive Christian morality with relationships in today's market? Like it
What do
is
you mean?
just in like general, like with dating. It's like so few Christians are trying to wait till marriage or have any sort of purity. I think they've just given up on it,
It's so hard.
and
battle.
it's like
So hard.
What are the answers?
I think it's different for everyone. I would like to say that I would like to see everyone be pure before that, because this is what I believe. I mean, if you put a high value on sex, it's going to make it better when you do have it. If you just bang all the time, it's just going to become like, whatever you do all the time, just not going to have a high value. Maybe, there's some caveats to that. But I think it's different for every Christian. I don't think there's a one size fits all.
I think God intended it one way. I think that when you experience sex with somebody who hasn't experienced sex and you both are entering into this novel moment together, you both have a very deep connection. I don't think that anything can substitute for that. I don't think you need practice for that. I think that the nature of that entanglement being novel is what brings intimacy. Yeah, I think that that's exactly what brings intimacy. And that's why I think people who've had a lot of partners that come together, they got all that junk in the trunk in their brain. It interferes with what their expectations for their partner is. You've experienced that. Like with that one of your friends saying, like, I want a man with practice. I'm worried he won't fulfill me now that I've ran through all these guys and I know what's a good or what she likes as far as preference. You're supposed to find out what you like with your partner. That's supposed to be a novel, beautiful experience that you go through together. So if you trade that in to be a taste testing person, you're never going to have that. So that's just gone. You're never going to be a virgin again. Like once you get rid of that, it's gone. You're not a little bit pregnant. You either are or you're not. So there's some of these, that's the way that I see God made it. And it's a gift for those who have self-control. Like you were saying, is it a battle? Absolutely. We had to go under that battle at the zenith of our hormones, which is like when you're, 14 to 18 or something like that, where everything's just through the roof. I remember dealing with that, and masturbation was a serious issue. I remember feeling like I was going to hell a few times. Like, my God, Lord, how can I control this? Like, I had no idea how to do it. And I was, like, freaked out by what that sin meant in my life.
Like you know how to do it. Well, how do you do it, John? Do you not jack off? Do you have to wait for a wet dream? Do you just wait for your balls to just explode? What do you do?
What do I do?
What does anyone do? There's no answers in the Bible
Okay.
for single guys. It's like, just,
There's answers for sin. There's answers for sin. Okay,
He didn't specifically talk about masturbation.
he
in
talks
the Bible.
about thoughts and purity of thoughts.
Yeah,
so
mostly
it's not
for
like
married guys.
I remember, like you can.
We're already married.
Can you ejaculate to thinking about flowers,
Bro,
I'm sure you can.
that'd be
I'm sure
awesome.
You can.
But that would
I'm
be like
sure
some
you can.
Buddhist monk, like serious.
And why do you respect the Buddhist monks? because of their discipline.
They're not
because of what
sexual
they do.
machines, though. I wouldn't
Do
want
you
to
want to
bang a
be?
Buddhist monk chick.
Okay, so you want to be like a. So who do you want? That's again, you're identifying what you're attracted to.
Yeah.
So if you're attracted to something that's very overly sexual, like a Jessica Rabbit or something like that,
She was the
you're gonna have-
hottest thing ever when I was
Of course,
a kid.
you're
dude.
talking
Oh
about
my
the most
God.
exaggerated womanly features possible. Of course, it's going to appeal to a young man, but as you get older, you're supposed to.
You want
try
a
and
Buddhist
hone it.
monk? You want nothing? You want just
My
straight
God.
up cardboard?
There's somewhere in between, Joe. There's not just these, dialectic things.
Well,
going on
beauty's
here.
important to me.
I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but anyway, to answer your question, how do you deal with it? Men obviously have a serious battle going on with lust, self-control. What does that mean? Thoughts. That is not an easy subject. That's why when men do make the mistakes of like having sex out of wedlock or having pornography, whatever it is that they get into, they're supposed to be trying to make ground with the Lord, saying, give me victory over this so that I can respect my future wife. So you're making an investment.
You keep on
by
using
not
these
doing
like,
that.
give me victory over this. Like, what do you mean? Like a clamp or like a zip tie on your nuts that actually like shuts them down? Because it's not gonna. You're not gonna have victory.
Do you really think
over
that's what
your
I mean,
hormones?
Joe? Seriously?
I just wonder, like, what is the application? Like, how does one?
How do you get bigger biceps, Joe? How do you grow
By
your
training
legs?
them?
Okay, good. That's how you do it. Same thing. You train, you have discipline, you try and actually have
So
self-control.
you just
Yeah.
ignore.
It's not ignore. It's actually take care of yourself. Not do damage to yourself. Not abuse yourself by looking at
So
pornography.
masturbation is abuse.
I don't. If you could masturbate
Self-abuse?
thinking about flowers or beautiful things, not
What if you're
completely
single,
lewd?
John?
What?
What if you're single? You're not allowed to think about women when you're masturbating. You think about flowers. Because most of the
I
time
don't
it was
think-
about married men looking at other women, and that
Isn't the real sin lust though? Which
It's lust.
which would be an overarching statement.
But yeah, well, would you don't lust after your own wife? What is that?
No,
even mean?
lust is that's the thing you need to understand is you can have desire for your wife. Lust can be applied to anything. It's a perverted appetite.
kind of.
Dude, it's a sense of domination. You see that in pornography. You see it in greed in business, ambition. That's what lust is. Lust doesn't only have to be applied to a woman. It can be applied. It's a perverted desire that has overtaken what's supposed to be there, a healthy desire, and it's now controlling you. It's controlling who you are, what you want to do. It's like a oppressive thing.
Like when you see a beautiful woman, it's almost like you're on. They compare love to heroin. Like it's actually almost identical.
I got news for you. Love is way better than lust. So yes, I
Well,
agree.
I mean, in the beginning, like when you find someone that's attractive, chemistry.
No, I'm talking about love down the road.
You're like, I like you. You like her, and it's like, wow, this is really happening.
I don't know if that's love, dude. I think love happens.
I don't know if it's love
a little
either.
bit
I think
down the
love is
line.
like perseverance and brutality down the road when like
love encompasses a
someone's
lot,
ripping
man.
farts in the bed, and you're
I
like,
think
that stuff
first- I
stinks,
think-
but I still love you.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think that when you I idealize love, you there's like this, like he talked about, this Disney representation of love. When you read the Bible about love, it's forgiveness, it's long suffering, it's enduring, it's patience, it's all those things. But yes, God made it to be enamoring, to be exciting, to be fantastic on purpose to help us get through it.
Yeah.
You know, it's great. Doesn't mean that stuff has to diminish in any way, shape, or form either.
So practice.
What do you have?
Practice not being lustful.
Yeah, obviously.
Practice shutting down your attraction and
world is
controlling your
going to-
balls. Practice it.
I think
It's
you
like
can answer
practicing
that
not
question
eating
yourself.
donuts.
But
Yeah.
you're right. So what do you do about your prostate itself?
I think God's big enough to handle your prostate,
Man,
dude.
Really?
Yeah. No, I don't think God's going to give you prostate cancer because you're obeying his law. No, I don't think so. I
So
think,
you're saying that
I think if you obey
you're not
his,
supposed to
this
jack
is what
it,
I
you're
think.
not supposed
If
to
you-
snap the turnip. You're not supposed to nothing.
I think if you do snap the turnip, God's going to give you grace. Okay? I don't think you should be saying I have to do this because God
Sucks.
made me this way.
Well,
And I hear this garbage narrative which is like coming from supposedly strong males, and it's like, no. Yes, you're gonna stumble. Yes, but you can't let that stumbling turn into like, yeah, God made me this way, and I just need it, and there's nothing wrong with it. And then eventually, you have no issues with lust, and then you carry that into your marriage, and then you're masturbating with a wife.
Yeah, that'd be the big concern for
It
No,
sure.
that's
happen.
the kind of stuff happens, dude.
It does happen a lot.
Oh, all the time.
I will say that snapping the turnip is not a good time though. Sex is way better, and I personally despise it. And
Do you
it
really
sucks.
have to say, duh? Yeah.
No, I don't. I do
It's like
have
a
to say
flight
that.
simulator versus flying or something like that. It's just not the same.
Some people like the simulation, man.
Have they ever had the real thing?
That's the point.
Okay,
Maybe
no.
it sucked when they did, and they were like scared. And they're like, "This sucks." Like,
There was a movie about this guy. He was addicted to pornography. I forget his name. John Gordon, whatever his name is.
what was it called?
He's a younger guy. He's attractive. He's got his life together, drives a fast car. Girls like him, but he was so used to masturbating to pornography that when he had sex, he didn't like it.
He would go
And
jack
so
off afterwards.
There you go. He just did not like it because he'd conditioned it. That's the damage that lust can do. Because when you have that novel sex with your wife, when you're the first, that is where it begins. That's where it should be. And you don't have all this preconceived programming, this indoctrination, this propaganda of sex in your head. And then you can't enjoy it. That guy couldn't. He had to do so much work. He had to have an older lady, and it's a horrible idea, but he had to kind of go through and reclaim what this stuff
made
was.
sense, though.
I don't know.
It was
but
good.
the movie's true when it comes to what lust will do. It will pervert your desires. It will change who you are. It will actually change the kind of women you're attracted to. You will be attracted to more of the slutty kinds, the ones that are more promiscuous.
I know.
The lewd, the really, you don't want that. So like you have to understand how it does impact your character and then how that impacts who you're attracted to. So yes, self-control. We're warriors.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
God will take
Just
care of
been,
your
like,
prostate, Joe. He's going to take care of everything else to make
I
sure.
don't know about that, but he takes care of a lot of stuff. So sometimes, but I haven't been. I've been working on
the God that I worship
been working on
does
how
not
to do that.
reward obedience with bad stuff.
Well, he rewards sometimes according to how he feels. I mean, there's a lot of injustice that goes on in the world, and it's just the way that it goes. It's not like there's not mathematical appreciation for it.
Point is, we don't have the full
Some
picture.
guys'
So
prostates might explode, while others might not. Some might get like vestibular atrophy. Or
can you appreciate
maybe
the God's character when it comes to his children?
I'm just saying,
being
I don't know if
obedient?
God will fix your prostate for everyone. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just saying that.
I'm saying if you're obedient, Joe, you will be taken care of by a loving, good God. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying
it. And I don't think that taking care of necessarily is like your
If you
prostate.
die of prostate cancer, you're going to a better place anyway.
Yeah.
So who cares?
It's a really good point, Mike. So
Like
love
he
you.
sounds like you win anyway.
Yeah,
It's like, yep,
okay.
I'm done with this shit. Prostate
I
exploded
think
yesterday.
historically, the men, and this is just another point.
Well, I think
to
these are
tag on.
important questions for young
Historically,
Christian guys.
The
You know what I
men,
mean?
the men who were the smartest, that gave a lot back to humanity, were a lot of times celibate.
Yeah, they
ones.
didn't roast a turkey.
Nietzsche didn't
Nothing.
do it. Newton, he also didn't have love in his life. Several of the monks and these guys who practice celibacy. So if we're going to just take the celibate thing and just say, oh, it's a drag, be like, well, no, it's not. Maybe God is giving you an opportunity to do other stuff before you find a wife, and then you have that responsibility. So just focus on
I will
other
say
stuff.
that like dating or even thinking about other girls, like we talked about rent free, but we'll get into that in a second. Before we get into that, just the bandwidth that gets taken up of like thinking about a chick, how to say, how's your day the right way? Takes you like 30 minutes. It's retarded. Okay? Should not be that way. But that's the way it goes. And then they're like constantly doing this. So it does take up a lot of time. And you could be like, learning stuff and reading books and redirecting your vitality into other places. But there's something about like learning that I think you have to do the hard work, which is what you've been saying. You have to apply yourself. You have to grow those biceps. But it's tough because like it's a lot of fun, in some ways. I don't know if it's so much fun as it's anxiety. It's like anxiety. It's like, and then you're just like, this is too much anxiety. I can't stand this. And then when the relationship ends, okay, so rent free. Like you get kind of like close with a girl, or you think you're getting close to the girl, and then either something doesn't work out. And then you're like stuck with these thoughts and memories, and you're like, compartmentalize them. You're like, this didn't happen. She does not exist. And you try to do this really hard, and then it works, and then sometimes it doesn't work. And that's kind of hard to deal with sometimes. You're like, man, what if I get really good at this and I compartmentalize other parts of my life? Forget about like important shit. So it's a kind of a weird strength that I'm developing.
I think self-control is it's not, you don't have to worry about, I mean, when you place things in the places they're meant to be placed, you're being careful and thoughtful and respectful of these very precious things, then you will be rewarded with clarity of thought. You're going to be rewarded with insight. You're going to be more peaceful.
I also think it like just naturally shows we're not meant to serial date.
I think that's a great insight.
Because it's like your brain. If your brain could just move on immediately, then you would break stuff off so much easier. You would probably serial
be
date
a
way worse.
sociopath,
Yeah,
right?
you, like so I would.
Do the serial honeymooner.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yep.
if you can keep like the least amount of, I would say, emotional connections with a girl, it's probably the best because you don't have all these these rent-free situations in your brain that might show up 5 years later when you're in a relationship.
Yeah, when you see those girls, like, they just, like, talk to a bunch of guys, I'm immediately like, gross. Like, why would you want it? Like, even if, like they like me, and, like, they think that's, like, some tactic to get my attention, I'm just, like, not into it. Like, and it's not that I don't want to compete. It's, like, whatever. A lot of the guys are just, like, dudes. But it's just, like, some of those games people play, it's just, like, that's a turnoff. Or, like, when girls, like, don't text for a while. It's, like, those games to me, I'm just like, I almost like don't even want to put up
check
with them
out.
anymore. I'm just like, dude, screw this. Like, I got music to write, I got work, I got business, I got other stuff, and really don't have time to think about you that much. Like, if you're interested, you are. If you're not, then
that's the paradox of the girls that are quality that we are less interested in aren't going to do that stuff.
I know.
And it's the
hot ones.
gorgeous girls that are more crazy that do that kind of stuff.
Ah, it's so annoying.
It's a paradox.
So annoying. If you want a gorgeous girl, I mean, you're going to have to look, dude. You're going to have to get lucky. God's going to have to, bless your hand when you roll the dice. Want that Piacatini. But look, I think what you guys are saying is learning, right? So, like, and I do know that Christian men have a very, very different way that we have to walk when it comes to women. And when I was beginning my dating, I was not a Christian. I did not care. I was a guy playing guitar on the stage. I did not have any pathos for the women that I was with. I was just like, bang them and leave them. And then I got into a long relationship, and that was a nightmare. And I was like, this is more reason why I should never have a long relationship. And I didn't think there was a purpose in marriage or all this stuff. I was as, doom pill as you could ever be. And then when I became a man of faith, I was like, yeah, I'm just a hurt creature that needs to be healed, that's been hurt by women, that's been hurt by my own self, like Joe was saying, freaked out by my own desires. My desires ran off the rails, and it was perverted. What I wanted was perverted, and that turned into a monster that had to be cleansed and healed. So I had to go through that period. And that's where I was like, women are not sexual objects. I had to, like you were saying, you compartmentalize things, you push them out. They're not sexual objects. I have to quit doing that. Yeah, I have to quit doing that. I have to look at them as sisters in Christ, and I have to be their friends, hopefully a helpful person. But and this is the weird part, is they'll actually be more attracted to you when they see that you're not trying to get a woman like that, because they're like, this guy is not looking for that. And I think women do like a challenge, so that might be what's going on. I'm not saying I know what's going on there, but maybe I was older, had more established, so there's more going on there. But we have a different walk, guys, and it's not something that's easy. There's nothing about it that's easy.
Why I bring up some of the stuff that I'm bringing up today. It's because, like, this is the stuff that they don't talk about that's, like, there's not really clear answers on.
Dude, I can't tell you how many websites are like, what about masturbation? And the pastors and preachers are like,
there's a lot of stuff
they say the same thing.
Even secular.
Are you keeping a clean?
Secular.
The question you should be answering: are you keeping a clean mind? That's the question you should be answering. Not as masturbation. You could sucks. You could ejaculate. Yeah, no duh. I mean, yes, Joe, it sucks. But when you're not with a woman, not with a wife, that is a temptation, right? Or you have a wet dream. Fucky. Okay. But anyway, dating is rough. If you're going to be a believer, expect it to be even more rough. And if you're really going to try to find that gorgeous girl and you're looking in the mirror and you're not gorgeous, you have to be honest with who you are. Be honest with what you're going to get. If you want a woman that's beautiful and you're not, it's probably not going to happen. If you're really smart and you're with a very beautiful woman and she's not very smart, it's probably not going to last.
True.
So look at the things that are long-term investment. Look at your common interests. Look at the things that you can talk about into your 60s and 70s, and make sure that you have a long game approach when it comes to sacking or hoping to make friends with your wife first.
And then and keep your romantic ideas of sex as pure as you can. You know, if you're with somebody who's been very perverted and it enjoys perverted sex, that's a bad situation, and that will only cause strife between the relationship. Sex has a good way of doing it, just like food. There's bad food and there's good food. It should be appreciated that way. And then you should also understand that your attractiveness, who you're attracted to, is saying who you are, and the way that those appetites actually are for you. So if you're attracted to really, you know, slutty club girls, look inside. Try and fix that before you go out looking for a wife, because that's going to interfere with you finding somebody who's actually compatible.
Well, the reality is we're men and we're attracted to certain shapes.
It's a cop out. I hear we're men. It's like, you know, the best men.
It's not a cop out. It's
themselves.
just a reality, and then dealing with that reality is a separate subject. That's all I'm saying. So guys shouldn't feel guilty because they're attracted to something. They should recognize that as a way that you're wired, hardwired. There's same with women. Women have that same thing. That's why you're talking about. I feel like I want to say, guys, if you want a beautiful woman, or if you want to be more attractive, then hit the gym. Take care of your diet. Be diligent in those things. If you want someone that's brainy, then start studying. You know, like align yourself with the type of woman that you want to attract. Don't be delusional thinking that, you know, well, I mean, you could have a bunch of cash or whatever and attract a bunch of gold diggers, but do you really want that?
No.
Probably not. So you want to be sexually attractive. If you want like a beautiful chick, then you should probably try and hit the gym, take care of your diet, be attractive as a male.
Put God first. You know, if you're going to enjoy a relationship with a woman, you're drawing from your relationship with God. So if that's looking like a pile of dumpster fire crap, then you're probably not going to be outfitted to look after a woman, let alone be attracted to the right one. So you got to calibrate your system so that is actually working. And if you're really young and you don't have job, house, whatever, and God gives you a wife, good for you. You're really lucky.
Get like the whole, because like you're talking about like Christian girl, and we're running over time, aren't we? What are we?
We can go a couple more minutes.
Okay. Some of like the safe Christian chicks, and the safe Christian men, they just don't have like this. Like the attraction's not there.
See, again, I like to refine terms. A lot of the safe Christian people, like you're describing, they're following rules. They're not necessarily like, and you should follow rules if you're going to be appreciating the Bible. But if you can't enjoy, because the Bible doesn't talk about sex that in depth of what that interaction looks like. It's a very intimate thing. If you have somebody who's so, they don't even want to have their body close to you, and they're like so crazy Christian that they want it to just end, you know, because they have this idea of sex and it's like so, I don't know, taboo. It's interfered.
See a psychologist about that.
Exactly. It's not a good thing. Sex is very intimate. It should be a shared, beautiful, and it's meant to be very enjoyable thing. So like, yeah, there's the straight edge Christians. They probably have the craziest, best sex out there. That's what I like to believe. That's what I like to believe. They're having the best sex. The Christians that have been married for the longest, that enjoy people or enjoy sex, are having the best sex. That's what I believe. Not the people who are having exciting sex or like short-term stuff.
The data shows that too. The most
Really?
satisfied marriages are virgins that get married.
There you go.
And it basically just goes downhill from there. Because I think your expectation, you know, it's kind of like what you don't know, and then
Makes
your
sense, doesn't
ignorance is bliss.
Makes sense.
But everyone has got like seen porn though.
Yeah.
Like, are you a virgin if you looked at porn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's pieces of you that have
But you
been-
still know about like, some of the other sexes.
I mean, if
Or
I would
sex styles.
I would say you just have to be really naive if you think that some porn is like reflective of real life.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
actors.
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, well, some
That's your
people
own
actually
fault if you
believe
think that
it's
that's true. Like,
That's true, man.
That's an important point to point out.
Well, they're paid actors. I'll never forget, you know, when I was young, our dad sat down and talked to us. He's like, none of this is real. And I remember asking him, like, what? This is real. It's what it is. He's like, these are actually people, but they're acting. Do you remember how we watch movies? It's
He's
an
like,
act.
women don't do this.
He's like, they
son."
don't like this. They don't do this. It's not what women are. And I remember thinking about that for a long time because it was one of those things that did not make sense, especially to a young mind, because people can be very provocative and they can lie. They lie well, you know. And so, yeah,
Acting.
preserve. Satan is a master manipulator. He's a master deceiver, and he wants to take away the biggest gifts that God has for us. That's what he wants to do.
and he wants to give you a piece of trash and then say this is the best. And like we talked about,
I
people
do like McDonald's
people,
every now and
people
then.
who are in denial
Really
will
bad.
fight on, die on that hill to say that they're right. So the people having perverted, gross sex will be like, this is the best sex in the world. You Christian, blah, 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 blah. You don't know what it's like. And it's like, you know what? I do, because I worship the Most High. He's the one who made this stuff, and he's the way this is that should go. So, and the biggest takeaway that you should understand is they have no idea what virgin sex is with a woman that you're married to.
You can only do that
Very
once.
small amount of people know what that is. I don't know what that is. So I appreciate the rarity, and I'm not one of those people that's going to judge from what I think it's like. I don't know what it's like, but I think that they have the best sex. I think that's the way God made it, and I trust that. So if you're going to have to deal with the Western world we live in with pornography and all the movies, and it's everywhere, and you have to be a warrior and keep your mind clean, yeah, this is a battle.
Be like, honey, I want to try this out. Where'd you find it? I just came to me.
You can read sexual books without it being pornography.
Dude, what do you
Absolutely.
mean, like romance novels?
No, like understanding what's going on down there. Like if you're a man, I remember sex ed class. Like here's the anatomy of a woman.
That's
This is
just
what
talking
it works.
about how to keep a strong dick, dude.
It's not. Look, dude. Like yeah, keeping a dick exercises and stuff.
How to please a
Fine.
woman. It all falls into that.
Like I said, I think women are more. They're not concerned with that. I think they just want they want to be wanted and ravished. And I have a different idea of the way that works out. But that's fine. You're thinking about the member.
I love you, John. You're hilarious.
They like some women do, some women don't. They're all different. I know what I know.
You're
Like I said,
acting
know
like
don't
all I
know.
care about is like a strong dick when that's just a part of what I'm saying when you actually don't have a wife to bang all the time, dude. Like, it's obviously two different things going
I was celibate, or not celibate, but I went for, and I can tell you this because when I became a believer, I had to fight this battle. Okay, what?
3 months.
I went 3 months.
So you told me.
Yeah, I went 3 months. I went longer actually when I was in Alaska, even longer, and that came to me later, and then everything worked fine. Everything worked fine, and I'll tell you, the sensitivity in everything that
You
you're
were
getting-
also 26 years old. Well, I'll put that out there. I mean, you're young.
Yeah, I think that if there's one
Still
thing that's
young.
going to atrophy on your body, your dick would be like the last thing to atrophy, like to just like not work. I think that'd be the last thing on our bodies
I
that would
would
actually
agree.
do that.
Really?
So that's my opinion. But, I think that thing's giving you wet dreams. It's waking you up at night. Yeah, that thing
That's
is-
happening to you? It hasn't happened to me. I haven't
It
fucking
did happen to
dealt
me.
with this thing for a while. And it's just like I told you, like crying in the corner. Like I'm like, hey, bro, you still alive?
he's fine.
Okay.
He's actually getting controlled. It's good.
Yeah,
He's learning
okay,
how to be a soldier.
I think
instead
that
of being
biceps and PM muscles are important. I'm sure that some of the older guys.
the older guy's fine.
I'm not saying that's all about sex and that's everything.
Like
and
I
that
said,
I'm
the
not
guys who
romantic
are
and that there's
whacking
not
it-
about ravishing and like taking women in. And blah,
That's
blah,
what
blah,
guys
blah.
need to know about. That's what they should be knowing about. Is that women, the anatomy of a
No,
woman.
you're talking about
important.
Christian guys that aren't allowed to whack it or have premarital sex or do anything with their dicks at all.
You know what they could be doing?
That's what I'm
Instead of
addressing,
worrying
John.
about-
I'm addressing that.
Okay, instead of worrying about their dicks, they could actually understand what it means to please a woman.
Oh,
That
I
would
think
be
they
a
thought a
lot
lot
more-
about that.
That'd be worth a lot more to them in the long run.
That's the blue pill,
Guaranteed.
bro. That's been going on forever.
I am a blue pill guy. The blue pill came from this
I
Bible.
don't think there's anything wrong
Exactly
with
where it came
romance
from.
and like taking a woman in and why are you thinking that I'm saying something's wrong with that?
I am blue pill all the freaking way. Blue pill right here. I think that chivalry is treating a woman with respect. Whether or not that woman responds to me and is attracted to that, that's good for me. I don't need that. I don't want that. That's an X. That's a no. Yes, it's a filter you use. I don't just try. Like I said, I'm not the guy who's employing these, I don't know, pickup.
John cracks me up.
Why?
You say that now, but I know John's a plate spinner. He was.
Yeah, before I was
This
saved.
guy's like, ba-bam-bam, cha-cha-cha, yeah, baby.
That's why you're
That's
redeemed
how he
when
got
you're
to where
saved.
he is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There was a long period of my life where I had no God, and there was a lot of that going on while
Even
you
when
were
there
in a
was a
long-term
God.
relationship.
Just saying.
So yeah, and it's
It's a lot easier. A lot of
I've
this
been-
stuff, that's what I'm saying, is easier said than done. People like to preach this stuff, but like I'm trying to be real with y'all. That's all I'm saying, bro. Okay, take your stabs at me.
Dude, some battles are
Please
fought.
do it.
Some battles
I'm
are,
ready
Some
for it.
battles are won. Some are lost, but it doesn't mean you quit fighting. Okay, so like if you slip up
I
and
totally
you do
agree.
these
King
bad
David,
things,
baby. King David. Murderer,
Exactly.
adulterer, keeps going, baby. Keeps going.
that's what this life's about.
Yeah, Peter denying.
It doesn't
Keeps going.
mean what I don't want to see is people making normative and making excuses as being a
No,
man.
use a
Like you have
caveat,
to do
yeah.
this, and God did this, and He gave us. Yeah, God made us overcomers. He made us to conquer. He
Just
made
talking
us,
about it for a lot of guys helps, and that's what I'm trying to do. You know what I mean? Like just even like putting it on the table and being like, yeah, we all know. It eases. You know what I mean? It helps.
Yeah, I mean, in Bible study, everybody we all talk about how to.
No,
control
it's
our
more.
minds.
There's a whole lot more guideline to it, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's like even when you go to church and the pastor, it's like,
Joe, I was there
Yeah.
for a lot longer than you, brother, and I remember the
I
struggles.
remember.
of
That's
it.
what I'm
And
saying.
It's not something
It was
that's
like a little.
It's
bit
not
of-
something that I have to go dig up out of the backyard, bro. It's still right there.
It's easier
okay? I
said than
remember
done.
how it's
But
done.
yes,
A lot of this whole Bible. You could read it, and it doesn't make sense to you, and you move on.
yeah.
So you got to pour into it so it can pour into you.
Got to do the work, grow the biceps.
Yeah, discipline.
Yeah.
Have some faith in what God says, and if don't let Satan take these beautiful gifts and corrupt them because you're a man and all these excuses. Men are meant to be self-controlled and exhibit the transcendent man of Christ.
Kung Fu, baby.
Yeah,
I think as Jocko says, discipline equals freedom.
that's right. Extreme ownership. Yeah.
Own those nuts, guys.
Let
On
the
that
Lord
note,
Those
help you.
desires.
Anyway, dating's rough, and I don't think it's easy for anybody. Dealing with your, the carnal desires is rough.
It's rough.
It's not. I'm not saying it's
Totally
easy,
rough.
but it's not. It's not something you're meant to go alone. The Lord is there with you, and you have a very good thing to look forward to. That's why I'm trying to bring up this blue pill stuff, because it's like, you know what? You have such a good gift. If you can keep to that line, if you can be committed to what God's promises are, He will fulfill His promise to you. That is not something worth trading away. No bowl of lentils, bowl of pornography, bowl of masturbation, whatever you want to trade away your pure marriage for is what you're doing. You're playing the role of Esau. You know, God will sustain you when you're tired and about to die. You don't have to sell your birthright for a bowl of
Sometimes he
lentils.
does. Sometimes you just die. But
And
that's
like
okay.
he
Like
said,
Mike
when
said,
you
you
die,
go to a
you're
better
going to-
place. It's all right.
Eventually, we all die. So it'd be great if you go out doing that.
I just want to make that clear.
Good.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we end on that note?
Yeah,
Don't trade your bowl of lentils, guys.
that's right. Keep it.
Birthright. Lentils aren't that good. I never liked them growing up. I mean, I like them now a little bit more, but
Great.
I keep my birthright over those lentils. I'm telling you right now.
Why don't you close us in prayer, Joe?
Okay. All right.
Lord, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to talk about things that are tough to talk about. And we have guys that we can be honest with and present things and have that iron sharpen the iron and kind of let things kind of flow in a way that's not contrived and trying to be real here. Lord, I ask you for forgiveness for any of these guys out here that I might turn down the wrong path. I am not the shining light to be looking up to. You are, Lord, and this book is right here. I simply want to bring to light some of the questions that I'm sure some guys might have, and I do, and just be honest about these things that are tough. They're burdens. They're hard, Lord, and I hope you understand, Lord, and I hope you guys understand out there too. We love you. We glorify you. We thank you for your gifts, Lord, and all your beautiful abundance in our lives. These aren't super big deals. You've taken such good care of us, Lord. Thank you so much. We praise your name. Thank you, Christ, for salvation. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.